but I'm a Steelers fan. The Steelers are in the playoffs. I want to talk about the Steelers. So this 4-game losing streak to close out the season, there's been a lot of blame all over the place. Some folks have gone after Tomlin. Coach, this is another non-winning season, and you fizzle out at the end of the year. People gone at Mike Tomlin. There's people who've gone after Rex Ryan. Maybe the future coach of the New York Jets went right after the Steelers defense, who, by the way, hadn't been playing great. But if you told me as a Steelers fan, hey, TJ Watt and company are going to hold the hottest quarterback on the planet to 19 points, I'm being like, thank you very much. I think we may win this game with how bad Cincinnati's defense is. I was wrong, but I would have taken that any day of the week. Rex Ryan's like, hey, this Steelers defense overrated. Are you kidding me? Not sure where that take came from. Everybody's blaming all sorts of people. And Omar Khan, you didn't get a receiver. All this. There's two people I want to focus on. The first of which being the quarterback of this team, Russell Wilson. Maybe you've heard of him. So briefly to recap where I've been at with Russell and the Steelers. When he signed there to a 1-year, $1.1 million contract in March, I'm like, okay, I don't love it, but he's better than what we had last year. So, and he's cheap. If it doesn't work, okay, too bad. Move on from Russ and we try and restart in 2025. But then Russell comes in after Justin Fields starts 4-2. I'm thinking, okay, this better work. And it does work. The Steelers statistically in Russell's first 3 to 4 starts were a top 5 offense in football. I'm thinking, dang, we may maybe extend Russ to a 2-3-year deal. Maybe we might be more contenders than I thought. Russ can hold the fort down. Maybe you can draft a quarterback in that span. We're set. And the last 4 games, it's been pretty bad. We can show you Russell's stats in the last 4 games. And the Steelers losing streak, not very good. 4 touchdowns, 2 picks, throwing for not even 175 yards a game, completing barely 60% of his throws. Passer rate of 81, which is fine, and nothing more than that. And a QBR 0 to 100 of 37, which isn't very good at all. It hasn't just been the play of Russell, who I did not think was good over the course of this game against Cincinnati at all. It is the lack of situational awareness that I bag on coaches all the time. Guys, I mean, Matt Eberflus more than anybody with that, what happened in Chicago, the Thanksgiving game against the Lions. We all remember that. Situational football, bad situational sports execution drives me insane about as much as anything. We got to get on the players, though, too, because this was Mike Tomlin's fault that Russell Wilson did what we're about to show you. This is from the ESPN broadcast of the game on Saturday night. Russell Wilson, 47 seconds left. Steelers are about 25 yards from field goal range. Russell thrown out of bounds, and he tries to truck a linebacker for a 3-yard gain, and then the very next play, Russell tries to make something happen, takes a sack, and now the Steelers are behind the 8 ball big time. We'll show you again. Just Russell thrown out of bounds. If he does it, we got 42 seconds or so to do something, get 25 yards with a timeout, 2nd and 10. Instead, he says, I'm going to run for 4 yards, and doesn't work, and then he gets sacked on the very next play. Tomlin has to burn the last timeout, and then it all snowballs from there. I know people got on Pat Freiermuth for the drop at the end. Only reason I'm not getting on Freiermuth, I don't think the Steelers would have gotten another playoff. Like, maybe we got in a field goal range. I don't know if the Steelers would have gotten to the line and got a playoff in time, because different situation than what happened in the Bears game yesterday against Green Bay. So there's the Russell's part of it. To me, at this point, with Russell Wilson, it's pretty simple. Offer him a contract to come back. Something in the ballpark of like 2 years. $40 million, if that. And even I'm a little, 20 mil. I mean, $20 million in 2025 relative to what $20 million 10 years ago for quarterbacks. Very, very different. The market has changed drastically. But Russell, take it or leave it. And if not, what I would do if I were the Steelers, bring back Justin Fields. He's a good starter. He'll maybe the Steelers make the playoffs. Maybe they don't. Honestly, at this point, who cares? They're not contenders right now. Draft a quarterback late round. See how that works. Riley Leonard, around 3rd round or so, I actually would kind of like, potentially, just in terms of his value. We'll see. Second thing I'd do if I were the Steelers, if that doesn't work, I don't know if y'all saw Joe Milton in New England yesterday. I get it. He gets Buffalo's backups, but have you seen the Patriots roster? It's not like he's working with the Kansas City Chiefs exactly. Okay, so trading for Joe Milton, high upside. I know maybe I'm a biased Tennessee fan. Wouldn't mind that. High upside. Steelers need a high upside quarterback because we haven't had that in a long time. So that's Russell Wilson. Russell, it's more a play thing than anything. But at the end of the day, I'm not expecting, I was never expected Russell to be anything more than a very good game manager. Didn't expect that. I'll tell you who I do expect elite play from, though, because he is more than capable of it. George Pickens. Now, George Pickens, drafted out of Georgia. There were some character concerns, but the talent was overwhelming. I actually saw George Pickens play at Neyland Stadium. I'm a Tennessee Vols fan. 2019, I remember the game. I remember watching George Pickens during Georgia warmups. I'm like, oh my God, who is this guy? He doesn't look like everybody else. He's making one-handed behind the head catch at the end zone. I'm like, oh my, this guy's gonna be a superstar. Steelers draft him. Made that viral catch on Thursday night against the Browns. Like, he's been talented. That's always been the thing. George Pickens talented, but the quarterback play isn't great. So it's kind of hit or miss. But George Pickens has not only become a liability in the locker room as it pertains to his attitude, as it pertains to how he goes about his business. The guy has let that drag into his play on the field. And we can show you let's show the stat line first, and then we'll go over the low light reel, because George Pickens pulled a Houdini yesterday. He disappeared. He's talking about, I want the ball. Give me the ball. Give me the Russell Wilson. Give me the football. 1 catch, no yards on 6 targets, 3 drops. And can we show the low light footage from one George Pickens? We can go and put this up here. So right in the hands and drop. And we can show you right over the top, and there's another drop. And now he's yelling at fans, threatening them to fight him, and there's another drop and another right there. We're going to show these on replay. He was, again, threatening fans. The same guy who gets into a fight literally every game, is a hothead, is all over the place emotionally. And because the Steelers aren't terribly deep at that position, they kind of have to rely on George Pickens. And at the end of the day, I love Mike Tomlin, but he has tolerated it because George has been so productive. Because if you get, as I said many times on the show, you get number 14 the football, that's a special football player right there. After the catch, breaking tackles, the speed, get away from anybody, man, that guy's something. But when George Pickens is not getting the football, or even is getting the football, and is dropping them like flies, he's a clown. He's a malcontent. He's a locker room cancer. And I don't know, I can't explain it. I was talking to my guy Parnell about this yesterday. Shout out to Parnell, Sports PSP Podcast. Subscribe to his show. He does a great job. I was talking to him about this yesterday. Is that for the standard that I have the utmost respect for that Mike Tomlin sets in Pittsburgh. No nonsense, all football. It's what drew me to being a Steelers fan when I chose them as my team after I did to Dallas 2 years ago, is because of the standard in Pittsburgh that Tomlin has set, that the Steelers as an organization have had for so long. No BS, all football first, all business, all of it. For some reason, that just doesn't apply to wide receivers. We all know about Antonio Brown, but you had Juju to a lesser degree than AB, obviously. You had Chase Claypool, who was a mess, and I'm not even sure he's in the league at this point. And now you have George Pickens, who's one of the most talented receivers in the National Football League, without question, but it's turned into a liability. And at this point, he's going into year 4 next year. He'll be a free agent, actually, after next season, because he wasn't a first-round pick, no fifth-year team option. The Steelers would be, and I don't think they will, but they would be truly out of their minds to pay this guy big money. Because we all know about money. People talk about, money corrupts. And no. What money does is it makes you more of what you are. See, if you're a giving, generous person, when you get more money, you know what you're going to be? More giving and more generous. If you're a horrible human being who does, whatever, you know what you're going to be when you get more money? More of that. Money does not change people. It doesn't. It makes you more of what you already were or already was in there. If George Pickens acts like a psycho on the football field week after week, fights other teams' players, threatens Steelers fans, drops passes when he's begging for targets. If he's that now when he's making this kind of money, the heck you think he's going to be if you pay him big money? Now, again, I don't think the Steelers are going to give him an extension, nor should they. If George Pickens holds out, let him hold out. I think the Steelers need to go aggressive in free agency or in the trade market and trying to get a wide receiver. I know there's the Tyreek Hill stuff. Tyreek Hill himself has been a little bit of a malcontent, but at least he gets you production. If Tyreek Hill says, throw me the football, you throw him the football, Tyreek Hill's going to make stuff happen. He's leveling and receiving. He's a Super Bowl champion. A year ago, there was an argument. Tyreek, Jefferson, who's the best in the game? We'll get to Tyreek later in the show. But if you're going to beg and complain and whine and moan about targets, you better sure as hell produce. And he hasn't. Now, again, ripped Russell Wilson, bad situational awareness, and he has not been a good quarterback over the last 4 games. But to me, it is the mark of a selfish guy that you are you are one of the most relied upon players on your team because of the lack of depth at wide receiver, and you act like an utter child over the course of your career, going back to college at Georgia. But you got away with it because you were talented as hell. So I don't know. Listen, the Steelers have another game. They have a playoff game in Baltimore. Maybe George Pickens can redeem himself. I'm not sure his character is going to change in the next 5 days. But this is embarrassing. And I've alluded to it. And I've been as guilty as any Steelers fan. I've let it go because of what he produces. But it's absurd what this guy gets away with. And to now, at this point, he's not giving you production. So Steelers be aggressive. Go get go get T. Higgins if you have to. Steal him from a division rival. That'd be great. I'd love T. Higgins on the Steelers. It'd be a really good fit. He's a number 1 receiver for a lot of teams. He just with the Bengals because Jamar Chase is awesome. He's the second best in the game. It's just it's biggest game of the year. Defense shows up. People ripped Tomlin for the 4th down call in the first half. Loved it. I've written Mike Tomlin. The one criticism I have from him, it's like, darn it, Mike, you're too darn conservative. And that's the case with a lot of defensive coaches. He went for it. And Russell wasn't good either. But would have helped if George Pickens, did his job for once in a big game instead of losing his mind. There you go. All right. Get to the comments, touch on Cincinnati, then we'll go to break. It really pisses me off. Again, of course I'm a Steelers fan. Of course I want my team to win. And I think had Pittsburgh won the game, gotten the 5 seed, I'm sorry, I'm picking us to beat Houston this weekend because I don't think Houston's a very good football team right now. I think C.J. Stroud has regressed badly. I think the defense is good, but you never know. They gave up 32 to Will Levis at one point this season. I would have liked the Steelers in that matchup. Now, again, there's the familiarity with Baltimore, so I guess that helps, but there's a reason the Ravens are 10-point favorites. And if there's one thing, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Then we'll get to comments, I promise. If there's one thing that I'll say, one theme that I'll have for my Pittsburgh Steelers all week long, it's 3 letters. DOA. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.